man, bud.
Did you just wall tap that fucking thing? That post?
I think so.
What do you think about that, Pupper? Did you enjoy that shit? You're a crazy dog. Put up with this guy. All right, I'm here with Devon Larson, and he is one of the most renowned drifters in this community. That he does a little bit of everything. He's out there every drift week. You'll find this guy, whether he's drifting a van, drifting a Mustang, drifting a Volvo. You never know what you're going to see him doing, but he's always out here. He's fixing people's cars. He's getting people back on the road, and just wanted to introduce him here because he is a very valuable asset to the drift community, especially in the Midwest and South Dakota region, but all over the country. And just wanted to ask him a couple questions here just to kind of get a feel for his take on some things. So what would you say are the most important things you need to know before you get started drifting?
Well, there's a lot of things, Scott, for to be real here. There's a lot of things you need to know. And most importantly, I'm sure everyone reiterate it. Well, I'll say it. Seat time. Find a car that you can drive that doesn't cost you, astronomical levels amount of money to use, to drive, to actually maintain. You have options nowadays. You have Mustangs, 350Zs, BMWs. You have all kinds of options that are cheap, reliable, and easy to maintain. I think some people, as we all know, get caught up in the horsepower game, the too much cage game, the whatever. Just choose a car, choose something to start with. Find something you like, learn about suspension, learn how to tune your suspension, learn how to adjust your car to make it drive the way you want. Learn different grip levels. Just learn, drive, give yourself the most seat time, and that's a good way to start, really. Other than that, after you do that, do whatever you please. Build a high horsepower car, build a low horsepower car, build a car that costs $30,000 in paint. Do whatever you want. It's a free country, it's a free world.
But start off small is the point. Start off small. figure out exactly what you like, what your goals are with drifting. Is this something you want to take seriously and try to do competitively, or is it something that you just want to do for fun with your friends, or you just want to go out and hang out and burn some rubber, burn some tires, have some fun, ride some walls with your homies on the weekends, or is it something you want to try to take to a semi-pro or a competitive level? And the best way to start is just going out to the events, right?
Absolutely,
and just kind of meeting people.
You can go out in anything. As in the vehicle we are sitting right now, which is an automatic, naturally aspirated 2.3 liter Volvo wagon. It rained and we drove 100 laps without using a single tire and using an entire tank of fuel with the friends in a bone stock car. So you can literally drive anything if you try hard enough.
That's the best way to do it too. Get the seat time in the rain and keep the costs down, keep the tires down, and have fun, doing some skids with the homies. What would you say that kind of allowed, or what made you want to go on Driftweek and start the first drift, go on the first drift week that you went on and really get you inspired to go travel the country, drive your drift car to different events, drift the events, and then drive to the next event and do that continuously week after week or day after day for several drift weeks? Because how many drift weeks have you done?
I've done 4 drift weeks.
He's done 4 drift weeks. He's about to do a 5th one here.
Yeah, we do it in November again. We're going to go out and we're going to go to the East Coast again, which holds a little dear place in my heart because that's the East Coast is where I drove my Mustang. Drove from South Dakota, drove all the way to the East Coast in a SR20 swap Mustang that had never seen the road beforehand. So, a little special in my heart. But yeah, I just remember, I'd seen some Driftweek content on YouTube, and had just recently finished one of my drift cars and was like, man, I really want to go get some seat time. Winter had just passed in South Dakota, and we were headed into the summer area, and I was like, well, I'll contact Aaron Lose, who runs Driftweek, and I'll see what. So me being stupid, I sent him like a really shitty application the first time, and it did not go over well. He's like, this is dumb. Why would you send me this? And I was like, okay, fair enough. So I contacted Scott here, And I was like, Scott, I need to borrow your car. I was like, I need a car that actually functions to prove that I can drive. And so Scott, being the saint that he is, lent me. We were here at Kevin's house, and his car needed finished, and we tossed a new rear IRS into his Cobra and buttoned up a little bit on the car. And Kevin and I went down. I met Kevin down there. I got off work, drove down to IMI, brought some tires and wheels with me, and Scott was kind enough to let me drive his car. And Ian McDougall, who had done a Driftweek previously, vouched for me and did some driving that day, and it was good enough to get me into Driftweek, and then I just haven't left.
He's been one of the Driftweek regulars, and he's certainly proven his worth. I mean, guy's a hell of a driver, and he's also, I mean, you do fabrication, you do a bunch of trackside repairs for people and stuff.
I do anything I can get my hands on. I'm not going to say I'm the best at anything, but I can do damn near everything. So it helps for sure. The last Driftweek, we had one of the guys broke his coilover in half at Arizona, the first track.
Oh man!
And sheared the, so on your BCs or almost any coilover, you have your threads where your nut goes through for your coilover, and then you actually have the actual strut itself. Well, the coilover had sheared off at had sheared the threads off on the very bottom, and so the threads had come completely apart, and all that was left was the shaft. Oh, so man. I got in the back of the old van, which I had taken with me on the trip. It was windy out. We were in Arizona. And I had beveled and TIG welded the coilover back together.
You're kidding.
No, and he drove from Arizona to California and drifted 10 laps at Willow Springs Raceway in California on that coilover that I had welded back together. And he was carrying, drift car full of hundreds of pounds of tools and other stuff. And yeah, I'll tell you what, that guy was a pretty happy camper at the end of the end of it right there. He was really glad he made it, because BC can't overnight on a Sunday, can't overnight you a strut, so he was very thankful to make it to the next track, and I was glad to help. That's why I was there, and so that was pretty entertaining. We had quite a few of that. I did a Miata turbo manifold in a parking lot at 12 o'clock at night.
Oh my gosh!
TIG welded the manifold back together and whatnot. And just in the parking lot in the back of the van, just so it's all windy. It was really, I don't know if you remember the weather in Cali during that portion we were there. It was snowing in California.
Brutal.
It was horrible. It was like 40, 50 degrees out in California, and everyone was like not prepared for that. People brought shorts and like t-shirts and were excited to like relax, and it was not that at all. But it was still a very memorable, very good trip. But I've had a good experience on all of them. Aaron runs an absolutely amazing event, and Driftweek is like probably the best thing I've ever been a part of, and will continue to be a part of, because it's just entertaining and it's just fun.
Absolutely. Have you done every single Driftweek that you've done? Has it been in a different car?
Yeah. So the first two, I drove my own cars. The third one that I did, I crewed for some German friends of mine, Alex and Flo. She needed to acquire a Mustang here in the States, so I went and found her a Coyote swapped New Edge, brought it back down here, South Dakota, got it prepped, ready, pulled the motor, swapped a new trans in it, put a new twin disc in it, went over the car, wrapped it one color, and we shipped it down to Texas. And then I met with her and Flo, her husband, and he drives a C6 Corvette. And so I crewed for them, and then I drove their spare car as backup. They had a 350Z that I street drove the entire time, and I'm a 6'2", and this was a Cage Z that would fit a man the size of Scott here.
Yeah.
Those
are not big cars to begin with.
It's not. I literally, when I sit straight up in the car, my eye leveled, I was looking at the roll bar dead center.
Oh my gosh.
It was horrible. But it was still an entertaining trip. So I street drove a shitty 350Z the entire time, and just kept them on track and fixing stuff and whatnot. And that was an interesting trip, to say the least. And then the last Driftweek they did, the fourth one, I was purely support. So I showed up with my van and a generator and a TIG welder and a MIG welder. And for the entire 2 weeks, I followed everybody around, fixing everybody in the middle of nowhere, anywhere, wherever we were, I would fix it. There was my buddy Jimmy Bruce. He used a C5 Corvette, and he had a back half of another Corvette as a trailer. I don't know if you saw that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so that's Jimmy. He's a wonderful guy.
Okay.
And his coilover at the track in Arizona blew. His ripped out in a different part that I was unable to repair, because it was just the tip of the threads ripped off snapped, so I was unable to repair that one. But we limped it to the Texas Roadhouse, and it was still working. And then he went to do a burnout with his trailer attached in the parking lot with the half welded back together coilover, and it fucking snapped again. So it was 2:00 in the morning. I think there's a video that my buddy Joshua Andrews shot from the parking lot, but we were listening to George Michael's at 2:00 in the morning while I was cutting and welding together a mock coilover to go in the back of the trailer, because we stole the coilovers off the trailer to put onto his car so he could drive it. And I used a piece of flat bar and another piece of flat bar to make a mock coilover that bolted to the vet assembly on his trailer at like 2:00 in the morning. We finished it, drove to the Airbnb. Josh and I slept on their floor of the Airbnb. We slept 2 hours, got back in the van and drove to the next track and started all over again. And that was only like day 2 or 3.
So you're exhausted before the event really even began.
Yeah,
like the start of the event.
There was still another week and a half of that. So it was
my god!
By the end of Driftweek, if you've ever been on it, and it doesn't feel like it ever ends, but you want it to end, but you don't want it to end, and it's just like time disappears, and like every day is a mystery, and